Hello, my name is Jackblade and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today we are playing Satisfactory again. We're doing the full logistics guide, and we're this time going into part 3, where we will be doing a lot more practical work than we did in the previous two videos, where it's been like a primer, it's been a lot of theory and stuff like that. So we're very much going into, okay, what do you actually do with what we've done in the previous two videos? So if you've watched, like, if you're new, this is the only thing you watched, go back, watch part 1, part 2. I know that's like an hour and a half of your life, but even if you're an advanced player, it gives you very, very important information. That is super, super important. And Professor Bean here will definitely agree with me if they actually like decided to hold a class and not dump it on me. Can I go to HR with this? Does anyone know this? Put it down in the comments. Something that I need to bring up, as usual, you have had an insanely good response to video number 1 and video number 2, and I am so grateful. Your engagement with the videos is what enables me to do these longer deep dive videos. The YouTube algorithm is really hurtful if you have bad stats and stuff like this on longer form videos, so thank you so much. And if you haven't, please subscribe, comment and share it. So I can make more of this kind of stuff for you guys. With that said, let's step into the classroom for video number 3. So we are now in video number 3, which means this is where we're going. Planning step 3 and planning step 4. And the theme of the video is, if you don't have time to do it twice, do it right the first time. And what the point is here is, like, if you need to use Paint, planning tool, creative world like this one, or like super downscaled version in the world that you're actually building stuff in to simulate any planned logistics, like just simulate, just test. It's so important. The main lesson I learned from almost 2 decades is boiled down to a single lesson. Actually check that your plan will work before implementing it. If you hear the frustration in my voice, there's a reason. We have had so many times where we have been ordered to implement a new plan, but not a single one of the planners has even spoken to us. The people working in the warehouses or doing the deliveries, or like being terminal workers, like offloading or loading trucks, whatever it is, they don't talk to us. This inevitably guarantees that the planned changes will have a critical fail at some point, and those points are always one of 2 things: space not being enough, or the changes and additions create critical inefficiencies. So here's the story. This is the layout of a terminal where I was working, my first job, where I was a forklift driver. And these pallets over here, these storage boxes, is essentially what we did every morning. We put out our deliveries for the day like this. And this space was incredibly important because we had no other space. This was the space where the trucks came in, and this was the space where the big, like, counterbalance or counterweight forklift, I don't know what the English word is, was basically offloading and loading the trucks. And basically this represents me basically coming out every morning and like loading all of this up. And what essentially happened was the CEO, the site manager, and a couple of other people, including like the tech leader of the engineers, the techie guy, great guy, he was just caught up in this, like, won't blame him for any of this. He was basically just ordered the same as us to just do this. They came down this loading bay and just went like, hey, put in a loader here where we can put in a truck here to just like take up the space for a single client's deliveries. They were like, we sent the most to them, yes, sure, but they were definitely not the most profitable client. They did not deserve that level of attention in any way, shape, or form, especially not since it blocked up our ability to load any other trucks. We had our warehouses in here, but there was no space anywhere in our warehouse where this could have in any way, shape, or form actually fit. The same company also wanted, and this is the space thing, right? Because like this means we don't have space to actually offload or load our trucks, or the trucks that comes in. Like they completely blanked on that. The second inefficiency, or rather has to do with the inefficiencies, and that is they wanted to change the storage system to a proprietary one. Problem was, half of the features of that new storage system did not function. The hardware that they had ordered to make that work did not function. And the things that were making the storage system effective in the first place was the parts of the function that did not work. So they forced us, so we spent like 3 or 4 days, basically overtime, every single day, just during the weekends and everything, just switching out every single pallet flag and registering everything in the new system, doing a full, like we're looking at maybe 3,500-4,000 pallet flags that needed to be switched and set up and everything. And then once everything was done, we essentially had to just keep working the same way we had always done. We just had like 3 or 4 extra steps now, every single thing we did. Those inefficiencies happens because, or the space problems happens because, one, they didn't actually visualize or simulate. In the case of visualize and simulate for us, would have been them actually talking to literally anyone working out here and asking, hey, do we have space for a dedicated loading bay to this client? No, we do not. Okay, good. And then walk away. They do not do this. And as a result, they put this in. It cost a bunch of man hours. They had to buy a bunch of hardware for like a loader and everything over here. And as a result, that just sat there, could not be used because we needed this space. So every morning, I asked my boss, what do I do? And they said, yeah, just keep loading it out. And they will have to figure it out because that's their dumb idea. And I'm like, okay, so I kept doing that. And ultimately that just fell into disrepair and like wasn't used. The storage system had to be used. And every time it was like, the big thing that I did not enjoy was that dumb ass storage system. I mean, the obviously the site manager and stuff like that. Like the management in this place was completely dumb, but even more so, the systems they made us use and the in quotation marks improvements they wanted to make to the systems essentially was them spending a bunch of money they did not have to fix problems that did not exist, instead of spending the same money to actually fix the machines that were falling apart because they were overused and not maintained properly. That's yeah. Sorry. Rant over. Story time with Jack is over and we're back. By the way, I just want to mention, these are blueprints that are going to be available in the, what's it called? Google Drive. So you can put out these yourself and have fun with them as decorations. That's really, really cool, in my opinion. I don't remember, I think I saw it, I don't remember who did it. Was it Mystic? I think Mystic in the Discord had made something similar and I was inspired and I did this. So, what is required for the visualization and simulation, however you choose to do it, how does it pass? And it has 3 parameters. 1, intended efficiency is reached. 2, the space needs to be enough for the full-scale version no matter how you do. 3, and this is more of a reminder, vertical space exists. Don't plan or don't simulate on a 2D plane. It's like unless you are actually planning on building on a 2D plane. So yeah, but yeah, remember that you do have these words to lead you. If you don't have time to do it twice, do it right the first time. So if you're not sure if the space is enough, simulate, try stuff out. And the way we're gonna go into that specifically and start simulating now. We are going to start with a little bit of a correction from last time. So, last time I said the junction can be an 8x8, essentially. And looking at it, that is not the case. Because if we take this load balancer, imagine if we have to do 2 more of those. Then we're out of space here. We need to basically calculate for what if we need to do load balancers for all of this. So that, therefore, I have doubled this width to 16, and I have increased the depth to 12. So now, if you look at this, this is essentially the space 1 splitter, merger, whatever it is, takes up. If you use all the ports, what you can calculate is that one of these uses up 1 full foundation, plus whatever space around it needs for like the belts and stuff like that, for curves and all of those things. So, to put it very mildly, we were like undershooting how big we needed this to be by a mile. And here we go. So, these are our junctions. Blue circle or blue outline. The white is our main lines. Alright? And blue, another junction here, another junction over here. These are going to be our external intake. We're looking at train lines, drones, whatever it might be that we need, they go here. All the red lines, and this is something that you might have not like thought about, like, oh shit, this also takes space. Walkability. Your ability to walk through or traverse the factory is incredibly important. And we will expand a little bit on this later, but for now, this is just how I've started laying this out. And this is an estimate. I haven't simulated anything. This is part of the simulation. We're gonna test something because we need to combine this with something else. We need to know how much space our stuff is going to take. So we need to simulate this. Normally, you do this when you build in a blueprinter. I decided to do this outside of the blueprinter so that I could paint the ground and stuff like that and show you guys side by side and have more of like a visual overview for you guys. But here you basically go. These are the machines that we're going to need over there. Basically went through Satisfactory Modeler and our plans and everything, and like went with, okay, what are we actually making? Well, we are putting in smelters, and if we add on a like manifold, the splitter, and the input-output lines and the power line that we also need, this is the space that it takes up. Same thing for the constructor. We're looking at the assemblers we need. That one might be a little bit too far forward, actually. But no, like it's going to take up the same amount of space. We're going to calculate the same amount of space anyway. And then we have the packager. And over here we have our refinery, where you can see, like, we're not going to use both the, like, it's going to have just the fluid input. It's not going to have the fluid output or solids input. But I basically built it like this so you guys can still see the, like, how far out am I to be able to go underneath. And this is a fun one if you're trying to do this, just to make sure that you can go underneath without clipping with the pipes. Same thing here, making sure that you can, like, take your pipes output, make sure that you can do that without it clipping, like, egregiously. The way that I built it here, it does clip a little bit, and that is intentional. And then you have the manufacturer, which we will need over here, where you can see I've neatly set these up and staggered for the manifolds. That way I can pull belts in on top of each of these without them clipping into each other. And for those who don't know how this one works, how I got it this short, essentially when you have a snapping point, the what's it called, the lift doesn't really care about what its normal, like, standard length is, which is this. It's just going to snap and kind of like visually glitch and connect, like this functions, but it doesn't look bad, right? So that way we don't have like an extra step above the first one. It's an even ladder going up. And then we have, of course, the output here, which looks like kind of puny compared to like the input, but yeah. Now, this isn't the only way that we can plan this. First, oh, sorry, let me just finish here first. We do have we're gonna have 3 sink lines for our byproducts that we need to calculate, and that's gonna be a 3x3, and then we're gonna have This is the storage, right? Because we have end products we need to store. And I tend to, when it comes to stuff I'm using a lot, which we do with like stuff like computers, plastic, rubber, like it tends to be used a lot, especially when you get later in the game. So what I tend to want to do is have a lot of extra storage. So I'm gonna have buffer up 3 containers of this, and I'm going to have 3 of the Dimensional Depot uploaders connected to it like this, so that I will be feeding a large amount in at the same time. This means that I don't necessarily have to wait for the dimensional storage to fill up again if I'm using a lot of it at the same time. And then you can ask, like, yeah, but you're just making a few computers every minute. Why would you do this? Well, when it comes down to it, if these storages are saturated, if they're full, it doesn't care that I'm not producing enough. It just means that the limit that I have for how much I can use at one go is actually how much I have stored, not how much I'm producing, which I prefer. Because otherwise I will have to set up much larger production cycles to achieve the same capacity of building that I would normally have. So yeah, this is basically what I've set up. We do have a alternative though. We have an example of an alternative, or a couple of examples of different alternatives I want to show you guys. Here we go. So if you want to be very space efficient and make things look nice and clean, or both, what you can do is you can work with the snapping to change where the connection points are. And there's a couple of examples of this. This is what we call a logistics floor. So the machine is up top, and all of the logistics, all the like lifts, the mergers and splitters and everything is down below. And the way that this is set up essentially guarantees that we take up way less space than this on a horizontal plane. So for vertical builders, these are perfect. Same thing with this one. Using the manipulated snapping points, and you manipulate them very simply by using nudge. So basically you find where you want to go up like this, and you go up. In my case, I have also used what's it called, infinite nudge, to create this, the mod infinite nudge. Otherwise, what you can do quite simply is go from there and connect over by using nudge. I don't really even know if nudge works with this if you snap them on. So that, like, that's on me if that doesn't work. I've used infinite nudge so much I don't know how vanilla works anymore. But here we go. This is a way, and something that I also want to bring up for all of these. As you can see, I've put in power poles, and if you look at them, they're kind of like snapped in place. They kind of look like they're built into the machinery. So if we look over here, for example, it looks like it's like welded to the corner over here, right, like so, rather than like a freestanding structure. And I've done the same thing here together with the pipe underneath. I've put this in to create like a sense of that it is supported and built into it, not just a freestanding like pole. Same thing over here. We have just different versions of this all over the place. This is like welded into the splitter, and over here we have it over here welded into the base of the support for the assembler. And same thing over here, welded into, oh, it's not actually done correctly over here. Let me fix that quickly. Boom, where you just place it in, snap it in just a little bit like so. And I've done the same thing over here. Very simple. A great way to just connect up and make it feel like they are all kind of like connected. There's like a more than just, oh no, I put this here because it fits. And sometimes you don't really have that option though, and these are one of those, in my opinion, where it's very, very difficult to make it work with those snapping points and not also make the cable connection look weird, like clippy. So yeah, this is how I've put them over here to get it as close as possible, at least. But that is essentially the space that we need for the each individual machine, which changes how we plan the rest of the factory. So the simulation now is, can we fit the machines where we want to? So that's what we're going to test over here. Now we need to know, can we fit all of our machines in? And I'm gonna bring up a sheet that shows all of the storage or all of the space requirements for our different machine groups. So each of these is going to be a machine group that we need to put out here and like test, do we have the space? So let's do this. All right, so as you can see, we have essentially simulated the entire factory's construction. It took me half an hour. If I had built it all out and realized, hey, this is wrong, it would have taken hours upon hours to build and hours upon hours to tear down. Now let's go in here. Let's see if we can have a sip of coffee here. And what we will look at is, you can see how I have seconded out every single machine group and painted them out on the floor. But there's a lot of empty space. And someone who is like hyper optimizing might go, yeah, but all that empty space is just a waste. I completely understand you and respect your opinion, but also I consider you wrong. Because what we always end up, what every single person ends up saying, like, hey, this is where I messed up, was how much space they thought they needed. So we have gone big with the space, and as you can see, we haven't gone small with the machine groups, but for some reason, they don't seem to take up a very large portion of the actual factory. And that is the case in reality too, because logistics takes a lot more space than production. And we have a different site where we also need to consider our logistics, which is over where we can collect our resources. And we're going to take a quick look over here, and you can see that I have actually measured out the space that one of these takes and the space that this takes, this station setup. I have set up, here's our oil, as we talked about in the last video. There's 7 of these, and we're going to have 3 of these just because we technically only need 1, but yeah, just for funsies, because one of the concepts we're also going to talk about is expansion. So what we do need to look at now is, will anything be over or underclocked? Like, that's a super important thing we need to talk about, and something will be. Over here, we need to add another sign and say, hey, let's actually paste the right numbers here. This needs to be set at 66.667%. Because we don't need to produce 60 of each. But to make it a simple 1-to-1 with the packagers, that these use 40 per minute of the empty canisters to package 40 fuel per minute. These produce 60 per minute. So to create an easy 1-to-1 transfer, I've chosen to underclock here to create a very easy like transfer rate, so that I don't have to do a bunch of extra logistics calculations for balancing and stuff like that. And as you can see, I have literally taken out everything, and I would have made a mistake here. If I did not simulate this, I would have made a mistake. Because the way that I wrote down my numbers, this should have been twice as long. This would have been 2 times as long, and I would not have had a lot of space in between for, as you can see, these red lines. And these are walkable paths, as I said before, but they have a second purpose, which is our power distribution. We need to make sure that we distribute power throughout this factory. And the way that I tend to do this as a trick is I combine it with my walkable paths. So as you can see over here, I have put them underneath. I have a light on. I've put them underneath the walkable path so that I have power infrastructure everywhere. And that's also something. These paths will be raised up like this. So they will all be very, very simple to access from the center, and you can walk around and you can have a good overview. You can look down on rather than having to like skip around and jump up and try and see what's going on. Basically, you will be able to see everything in the factory from the walkable path being raised. It also allows us to transfer power underneath in their power lines, and on top of that, we can also pull logistics under the paths without interrupting the flow of walking or the flow of the logistics. So yeah, we basically have it all. This is the entire factory, every single piece. Like we have down there is gonna be all of the storage with their accompanied like overflow storage, like overflow systems. Byproduct syncing is gonna happen over there. Byproduct processing gonna happen over here. We're gonna have it made. We might actually need to expand this a little bit, and the reason for that is quite simple. Because these rubber boys over here will produce, no, sorry, the fuel over here, these guys, they will be producing polymer resin, and that polymer resin needs to also be sunk along with this. So we just don't, like, regardless, we have the space, we can expand on this, we can add another one if we need to. We know that these take up to 3x3, a 3x3, so we can just do this just in case and have it like so instead. Like, it doesn't matter too much, and that's why we want this extra space. Well, we have this capacity to just say like, nah, fuck it, I don't want everything in one space. I want to split it up a little bit, I want to mess around, I want to put in like an extra walkable path over here, whatever it is. You can do that. Oh, autosave there. And we will essentially be working from this. Well, now that we have all of this, we know how this is going to be laid out, we know where everything is going to be. That enables us to do the next big part of planning the factory. And that's planning step 4. And, of course, as I bet a lot of people have been looking forward to, all the blueprints we need to make will be made here. Because now we know how much space everything takes. We know where everything is going to be positioned. So now we know what we need to plan in the blueprinter to make sure that we can very simply place down everything without necessarily taking a bunch of extra time. And like I said, all of this will be available in the Google Drive, and also everything will be made in the Blueprinter Mark III. So if you want to edit them and you're not fully unlocked with these, you will need to go into Creative World to edit them. And there will be I'll be using no modded blocks, no nothing. Like you can use them in vanilla, that's no problem. The main thing is you can place them down, but they're not gonna fit being placed down into a Mark II or Mark I, and they will, like, if you want to edit them, you will need to take them into a Creative World, put down a Mark III blueprinter, and then edit them in there instead. So keep that in mind. But what are we talking about when it comes to down to blueprint? Which blueprints do we need? As you can see on our right side of the screen here, we have logistics buses, priority and balancing system, truck stations, and that means like all vehicle station stuff that you can make into blueprints. Manifold, storage and overflow systems, floors and ramp, including logistics floors, vertical logistics systems, as in what are you using to carry stuff up and down in a vertical manner, and sushi belts. Those are the things that we will be making blueprints for. So we will be working, or I will be working on that, but while I am working on that, there's something very, very important that we need to talk about. I have had to make the hard decision to stop recording videos for my Let's Play. That one will only happen on streams from now on, so head on over to the streams if you want to see the Let's Play happen. The only way that I can make videos that I want to make, regardless of what the ads say and how many views I have, is with your help. As sad as it is, and as much as I would like to say, like, screw it, I'll just make whatever videos I want to, I am, until I get to the point where the channel is so large that we get the views we need regardless of what I make because people come to watch because it's me playing. That's not gonna happen for a long time. But until then, I need your guys' help, or I'm gonna need your help then as well. But you can support from $1 a month, regardless of if it's YouTube memberships or Patreon. You get the same like privileges, exclusive chats. You get to participate in streams. We have a bunch of milestones. I'll bring some of them up on screen. That basically are there and will be enabled because of you guys, not because of me. We've probably finished the blueprints at this point, so let's go back and check on Blueprinter Jack and see what's up with him. So here we have it. I haven't like plonked down every single blueprint here, and I still have a couple I need to finish. But essentially, we have our railway that will go around. You can see where I've marked the red line. Outside of that, you have 3 foundations. That's where the railway is going to go all the way around the entire thing. And you can also see all the machine groups are here. You can see in my blueprint list, I have every single thing that I need. Let's see. I don't necessarily think I've finished with the manufacturers, but they'll have a good idea. This is all the blueprints that I am going to need for everything static and repeatable in the factory. Then everything that I have essentially not made blueprints of because they need to be made manual. Because the best way to make sure that you don't get frozen up on the blueprints is don't try to do 100% with the blueprints. What you want to do is make 75% with the blueprints. The last 25% is you connecting the pieces between the blueprints. So then we have this, I don't even know how many blueprints this are. There are 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 of them. That's 30 blueprints for you guys. They're gonna be in the Google Drive that you can find in the Discord. And you can very easily just go pick those up, have fun with them. The way that I've done this, and I'm gonna explain this one specifically. I'm gonna change this so it has the last pipe as well, just for like symmetry. But essentially, this means that you have no dynamics. One set goes from here to that end, and one set goes from there to this end. So you have both directions with belts. However, what I would recommend, if you don't have a very firm grasp of exactly how you do your logistics, don't add in the belts, just have the support. This was a tip given to me by Mystic, one of the people that hangs out in the Discord, that when you're making big buses, and they make the biggest factories, like they max out everything they build to like the biggest you can make in Satisfactory. And they said that when they make buses, they just add the support and connect the belts, because it means that they can place in how many buses they want, and then they can dynamically change which belts they need or add in splitters or mergers where they need to like connect resources up for their infrastructure, because they use a lot of big belt buses rather than a bunch of trains and stuff like that. So that's a really good tip. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have in terms of like making all the blueprints, and that puts us at the end of step 4. So now we have done the visualization and the simulation. We have done the blueprints setup. We are with that done with this video. So what we need to do now is say bye-bye. I want to thank everyone who's watched, who's been liking, who's been subscribing and commenting. The support has been insane. I released a video yesterday talking about how I will not be making more of the Let's Play series, and instead I'll be streaming building in that world, and it's been, the support from that has been crazy, and I love it. Like I'm so surprised in a good way. I was so sure I was gonna get hate and vitriol, but it turns out you guys are awesome. Like more than I thought you already were. And I'm blown away by you guys. And I just want to say thank you, and I want to say apply this power responsibly, and we will see each other in video number 4, class dismissed.